Hello, this is Christina Mattis, and you are about to hear a presentation on what a character analysis consists of. You may start, stop, or replay this presentation at any time. The focus of this audio is on PowerPoint Slide 2, entitled Character Analysis Overview. Feel free to print this slide out so that you can take notes on it. Stop the audio now to do so, and press play when you are ready to begin again. If you choose not to take notes, then continue listening. There are three concepts to remember when writing a character analysis paper. First, you should identify the type of character you have chosen to write about. Second, the character should be described. Third, you want to be able to discuss the story's conflict with regard to the character's place within the conflict. Let's begin by taking a look at identifying the character type. There are 10 ways to do so. Your chosen character could be a protagonist, antagonist, major, minor, dynamic, static, stereotypical, foil, round, or flat. Sometimes it is possible for your character to represent more than one identity. This will become more clear as I discuss each identity with a little more depth. The protagonist is a main character around whom most of the work revolves. Luke Skywalker is an example of a protagonist. The antagonist is a person who the protagonist is against. Oftentimes, the antagonist is a villainous person, but could also be a force of nature, a set of circumstances, or an animal. Keep this in mind when we discuss the conflict in relation to a character. Darth Vader is an example of an antagonist for Luke Skywalker. A major character is a main character who dominates the story. The protagonist is automatically considered a major character, but there may be one or two other characters who also play large, major roles in the story. Major characters, such as Leia Organa and Han Solo, are examples. Major characters may also be dynamic characters. Dynamic characters change throughout the story. The change may be either good or bad. Minor characters help tell the major character's story by interacting with the major characters. These minor characters allow the major characters to reveal personalities, situations, or other personal stories. Typically, minor characters are static or unchanging. C-3PO and R2-D2 are examples of minor and static characters. Stereotypical characters play the stereotypical role in reference to their title, job, appearance, gender, or something else. Think of the Breakfast Club movie. Those characters are stereotypical. The jock, the cheerleader, the nerd, the outcast, the rebel. C-3PO is an example of a stereotypical absent-minded professor because he is a programmed robot who behaves as a know-it-all without the ability to sense others' annoyances toward him or his knowledge. A character who plays a foil is someone who contrasts a major character. For instance, Han Solo plays a comic relief to Luke Skywalker's seriousness. Round characters are three-dimensional in that they have more than one facet to their personality. For instance, a round character may know how to work hard during the week, but also know how to play during the weekend. Han Solo may be considered a round character because he is a serious pilot who still knows how to joke around. Lastly, a flat character is viewed from only one perspective and has one type of personality. Chewbacca, R2-D2, and C-3PO are examples of flat characters. Sometimes, flat characters could also be considered static characters. Now that we have reviewed how a character can be identified, let's move on to looking at how you can describe a character. First, you want to consider the character's name and appearance. Is there a special meaning behind the name? How is the character's physical appearance described? Second, think about if the character is dynamic or static. If the character is dynamic, does the change occur slowly, subtly, obviously? What is the motivation behind the change? Was the change encouraged by someone else? How does the character deal with the change? How do others approach the character pre, during, and post the change? Even though static characters do not change, they still may impact the overall storyline, so do not dismiss them too quickly. Third, how is the character disclosed, either by the author or other characters? Think of the STAR acronym, S-T-A-R. What and how does the character say, think, act, and react? How do others view or think of the character? So far, we have reviewed how to identify the character and how to describe the character. So let's move on to looking at the character in relation to the conflict of the story. There are two forms of conflict, external and internal. An external conflict consists of self versus other, such as the protagonist versus the antagonist. Other external conflicts are self versus nature, self versus animal, self versus fate or destiny, self versus society when the self has to battle societal norms, and self versus technology or machine. The internal conflict is when self versus self, such as during an ethical dilemma. If you notice, these 7 forms of conflict could be considered the antagonist in the story. After having heard this presentation, you should have a better understanding of what a character analysis paper consists of. The remaining slides in this presentation contain text versions of this audio. Thank you for listening.